What's up, guys? Happy Saturday. Let me move over here. Yo! What's up? Hope you're doing well. I'm gonna adjust some of the sound here. So I have my headset right here so I can listen to the music. So a few things. Number one, we moved the streaming schedule to only stream on Saturdays. So there's a lot of like NDA work and client work that I'm doing right now. And, juggling family life and the NDA stuff and trying to get a YouTube video up and get tutorials out and brushes and, there's so much going on that something had to give. And I think the live stream schedule, instead of doing twice a week, it's only going to go to once a week. And I think that's going to be better just all around. It's just going to be better. I think more people will be able to show up on like Saturdays, even if we stream a little late. And honestly, I'm looking forward to going live a little earlier as well on Saturdays. And we'll kind of see what happens. But, and if demand gets high enough again or whatever, then I can revisit the idea of multiple streams a week. But as of right now, it's definitely just going to be the once. And I think, like I said, I think it will be better. I'll be able to get my regular YouTube videos out on a more regular basis that way. And also update the online shops and stuff with some more tutorials and things like that. Just getting another evening every week to be able to work on a thing, whether it's client work or tutorials or whatever. I think it's going to lead to, just more stuff. And the stuff will hopefully be higher quality and more consistent in that way. So that's thing number one. So yay, Saturdays, right? Number two, I got a new capture card. I have a capture card, but I got a setup to be able to capture, and this is what we're using tonight. You can see the HDMI cable and all this stuff down here, and it's going to the capture card for the iPad. So beforehand, I was doing AirPlay. I was doing like screen mirroring through AirPlay wirelessly for the iPad, and it worked. It definitely worked. I was able to get the video signal and stuff like that. It was just, in my opinion, a little too choppy, especially whenever you start speeding it up, because it's capturing at not a consistent frame rate. And then whenever you speed that up, things start getting a little weird, especially whenever you take it into certain video editing programs. It's a little behind the scenes stuff, but you want your video footage to be as like smooth as possible whenever you're bringing it into a video editing software. So that's why, whenever we do our other monitor and things like that, that's going directly through my graphics card and all that, and we don't even have to worry about it being smooth on that route. But with wireless stuff, that signal can drop every now and then, the same way an internet signal can drop, and it can cause weird inconsistencies, and like the clarity can go down a little bit, because let's say the bandwidth takes a hit for whatever reason, that you can still get video, but if it gets all like pixely and grainy, it's not good, especially if we do art for a living, and so we want the visual to be able to be as clear as possible. So yeah, I invested in a few things, and this is running pretty good, knock on wood, famous last words. But I'm excited because this is running at full clip. This is running at 60 frames a second. Whenever we kick over to the iPad screen, you'll be able to see it. I'm excited about that, actually, because it's going to make for better iPad footage. And, a lot of people are requesting more iPad footage. So this is a great way to do that. So we're going to kick on over. Tonight, we're going to be practicing the Loomis method of drawing heads. I'm going to do a really quick rundown of what the Loomis method is. We talked about it a bit before, I want to say a few months ago on stream, but I never really showed it in its entirety. And I'll show it in its entirety. I need to practice it, and what better way to practice it than to do it. But what we're going to do is I also have been trying to do the Loomis head method. It's a great way to work from imagination, but also I need to work on head tilts and like different perspectives that are not either head on or straight to the side or like 3/4 view. because those are the three main ways that you learn how to do proportion whenever you do portraits. And that comes with life drawing class. That comes with, atelier if you go to art school. Those are the three main ways that you learn how to do it. But where things get really tricky is where you start doing one emotive stuff. So like big smiles or like, like eyebrows up and down. You start manipulating that. And also doing it at angles that don't make a lot of sense. So a lot of like upward head tilt to the side, neck flexing, doing weird stuff. That's where Loomis Method is very valuable, but also very tricky. If you're not looking at a model, if you're not gridding out things, if you're not, basically it's a test of your visual library. And that's a thing that I really need work on, is my, not my understanding of the values, but I guess understanding of the forms of foreshortening. Whenever, like, how big does the chin get if it's facing the closest to you, but what happens with the nose and the eye, you know what I mean? And like, so even other little things, it's funny if you can see, and I don't think we're going to study this tonight, but here's just a type of thing to think about. What happens when you do a Loomis method and the person's wearing glasses, and you can see what happens with lenses, like lenses for your glasses. The side of my head's actually right here, but you can see within the glasses frame, it refracts light. So it actually shrinks what you're looking at because the lenses are actually expanding. It's really like, that's the type of stuff I'm talking about. So I need a lot of work on that. I know that's kind of a really weird, like one-off thing, but that type of thing exists everywhere. It deals with nostrils. It deals with, what does your earlobe do if it's facing here and catching light a certain way? Like, you get to the nitty gritty, and it seems like stuff you shouldn't really worry about, but whenever you're working for big clients, those are the little tiny details that will push you over the top for like being on their short list of people to work with. That's the stuff that like puts you to the next level. So I want to try to work on that from imagination and really nailing down the Loomis method. Getting those real true fundamentals down first is kind of everything. You have to nail that before you start worrying about all the other stuff. So tonight's just going to be a fun kind of sketch night. I do have my headset here, so we'll listen to music a majority of the time. But I will be here on voice, not on webcam, because there's no real clean way to set up the webcam that I found. I can probably make it work, but it'd just make the iPad screen smaller. So I want to keep the iPad screen as big as possible. And 8X, welcome, my friend. Well, thank you for that follow. I appreciate you. But yeah, we're gonna get started. But I am pretty happy with how the iPad's looking. So we're gonna kick over there, and we are gonna make this thing work. And let me know how the volume will be, because I do have my headset on. If I start like screaming into the microphone or something, let me know that, because I can't hear myself anymore. I can just hear the World of Warcraft soundtrack. So let me move, like, I got my microphone here, so I have to see what I'm changing to. But we got the iPad right here. Okay, so now this is the pure capture that we have going on with the capture card, right? So the setup is quite a bit better. It's less lag. It's going to be better visual fidelity. And that's pretty exciting. So forgive me for a moment. I'm going to move some of this stuff around because the top of my desk right now is super cluttered because I have a keyboard and my mic and my mouse and like controllers and these cables and my iPad and a bunch of other stuff. So fun times. Let me get this. So yeah, let's talk about the Loomis method real quick. Loomis method is from Andrew Loomis. He's an American artist, and he is pound for pound the artist to go to if you're looking to draw creative illustrations from imagination. If you ever wondered if there's like a cheat sheet to drawing the human face or the human form, Andrew Loomis is always the one I go to first. There's also Hogarth. There's also, oh, what are some other ones? Hogarth is the other big one. But I will say Andrew Loomis for me is the easiest to recommend because you're not, and there's like the Riley method for faces, but that gets so in the weeds, I guess, that I just can't remember it. I know it's circles on circles on circles, and every circle fills into another circle that it gets really weird looking. But with the Loomis method, it's pretty basic stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do a circle, and then I'm going to hold this so that way Procreate fixes it for me, right? We have that. And the way I learned Loomis method is you take a circle, and this will be head on. This will be facing us directly, okay? So you take a head, and then you cross. It's actually a little high, but whatever. You make a cross, okay? Okay, so here is your basic form. So this cross, the line going horizontally, is going to be your eye line. That's basically where your eyebrows go. So I talked in the past about how I would kind of bastardize the Loomis method. What I used to do was actually put the eyes on that line and not the eyebrows. So in order to correct my mistake, I am going to make sure that I put the eyebrows there instead. And these are going to be kind of evenly spaced apart. And forgive me, I haven't warmed up. I'm right under the air conditioner blowing on my hands, so my hands are a little cold. But we have that right here. And then your eyes will kind of go underneath. But before we put in the eyeballs, we're going to find where the bottom of the nose is going to be, and also where the hairline is going to be on the face, or on the top of the scalp, okay? So you can really pick any distance, but the standard Loomis method distance is about half of coming from here to here. You want to go at about the halfway point, right? So that would be where your hairline is. Then do an equal distance from where this center point is. From here, do an equal distance right here. And this is going to be the bottom of your nose. Okay? So what I used to do, and what I still have a bad tendency of doing, and which is why the proportions on my faces from imagination were always very long, I was always making since I had the eyes instead of the eyebrows, because I had the eyes on the horizontal line, I would actually put my hairline at the top of the circle and my nose at the bottom of the circle. But that makes for a very long face, even with the eyes here on the line, right? So what I'm actually looking to do, what I'm trying to learn and do, is make this more proportionate, because then what we have here is it's basically a thing of thirds, right? So if we have 1/3 right here, 2/3 right here, if we make another equal distance from this cross point to the bottom of the nose right here, and you come down, which means it's going to extend a little bit off of the circle. That's going to be the bottom of your chin, right? And that measurement might be a little off right there, but this is why we're practicing, okay? Because what that is that's going to be the bottom of the chin. Another thing you're going to do, this is a big part of the Loomis method. You're going to shave off the sides of the circle, because this is going to be where the side of the head is, basically where your ear is going to be. So we're going to come in about that same area. You know how we have this right here, we have up by where the forehead is. If you go up a little bit on this vertical line and then around like this, that's going to be kind of where you shave the head, right? You're literally going to get, you know, something like this. You're going to do the same thing on this other side. Just spinning around. Kind of come straight up, straight down. Like I said, sorry for my very shaky hands right now. Once we warm up, we'll get there. So we have something like this, right? This will be the sides of the head. Now, if we take these areas where this bottom line hits and bring it down to where the bottom of our chin is, and you know, you can do any type of shape of chin. And my hands are so shaky right now. I don't know what the deal is. But see, this basically gets you part of the way there. Now the mouth, what I found is a pretty good measurement is halfway between the bottom of the nose and the tip of the chin. So if we come about right here, we have something like that, right? So if we have this, and then you can even use kind of the bottom of the circle to kind of jut the chin out a little bit. This is where kind of style comes in. And this is what I mean. I'm trying to figure out a good stylized method to use this method, to use the Loomis method in a way that I can remember all of these measurements really, really fast and really quickly. So we have that. Okay. We can actually put in the eyes. And the eyes are about one eye distance apart from each other. So if we did like this middle part right here, between where, let's do these. Let's bring this over here. And bring it over here. So you have something like this, right? And now the face looks a little empty right now, which kind of makes sense because it is empty right now. There's no real nose bridge. There's no anything like that. So this is kind of how you can see people start to simplify by doing anime. You can do anime by making the eyes a little bigger, the eyebrows a little bigger, things like that. But what I would like to do is kind of keep these proportions, the slightly smaller eyes, because I want to get better at finding a better like jawline and kind of cheekbones and things like that, right? So really what I want to do now, let me actually start filling in some of the areas here so you can kind of see it better, because right here it's just spheres and things like that, right? So these are your measurements. These are kind of your main measurements. Whenever you're doing a portrait, this is where likeness is going to be. The distance from the nose to the eyes, the distance from the mouth to the nose, the distance from the chin to the nose, chin to the mouth, nose to the forehead. Like all of that is where you get likeness from. But it's good to have something like the Loomis method, because this is a good way that you can work from imagination. You don't need a reference at all. And you can get something that looks kind of fine. The other thing that you can do, measuring the ears. The way I like to measure the ears is I look at this horizontal line that goes through the middle of the head where our eyebrow line is. That's going to be the top of our ear. And you can follow the circle down to where the bottom of the nose is. And then kind of clip it back around. You see that? So basically your measurements, man, my hands are shaky today. Good Lord. Okay, this is why I don't sketch in front of people, by the way. So this, you have something like this, and then you can come in and you can kind of fill in. I use a lot of C, like the letter C, to do these angles and shapes and things like that. So, you know, so we have something like this, right? And then we also have the hairline right here. So what I like to do is I like to go from the hairline. You can kind of come up a little bit, maybe like a triangle. And you see where we did this little line to come down to show us where the side of the head would be? You can follow that around as kind of where the hairline's coming around. At least that's what I do. But like I said, part of this study is to try to fix some of the errors that I normally run into. So we have something like this, right? And then you can extend the head out from here. So I would say it's like, you know, and this is based on hair. Everything here is going to follow the cranium, but it's also the hair. Do you see what I mean? So we have something like this. Yeah. See, this is kind of an old school method, but I do like how the proportions look. And then really what we would do is we would actually draw in a nose. So I use this bottom line as the line in between our nostrils. So I actually come up 45 degrees from here on each one of these to bring in nostrils. And then the tip of the eye, so we have our eyes right here, right? The tip of the eye, if we follow that down, that's where our nostril flare is going to be, the part that's the outside of the nose. And this is coming straight down. Do you see what I mean? That comes straight down here. So this is where you kind of get started. Now, of course, you can change the shape of the nose. You can do a lot of other stuff here. You can bring this up a little more. You can start adding in some lines here. You can start doing this. But this is the basics. And then from here, this is the basics of the shapes, right? So from here is where you can maybe put in that skull, kind of the cheekbone line right here. Something like that. So of course, depending on the person, the cheek line or the cheekbones are going to be higher or lower. But this is essentially it. This is how I build faces from imagination using the Loomis method, right? And like I said, it's not perfect. It's not maybe even all that great, but it's a great starting point. This is a very good point that you can start with, because then you can change the dimensions. Is the nose bigger? Well, you can lower the line. You know what I mean? You can lower where the nose is. You could be down here, or the chin can be longer, because if the nose is going to be longer, a longer distance, that also means that a hairline is going to be longer, and the chin is going to be longer because you're breaking this into thirds. Does that make sense? So this is essentially what we're working with here. And the thing is, I feel okay about the proportions. I just need to know the best way, or kind of find a good way to go from here to making, you know, different characterizations. So if we have this, let's go ahead and make this kind of like a more battle-hardened, let's do like a rogue, like a dashing, handsome rogue or something, you know? So if we wanted to do that, this is kind of what we have. So remember, you got that horizontal line, you got the vertical line going down the middle. That horizontal line is basically going to be where the eyes are looking. So let's say we had a face. Let's say we had a face like this. You would then, let's say this is coming around here, and then coming around here. You know what I mean? This is the same thing, but now, this is our eyebrow. Remember, we have to cut into this circle, meaning something like that, right? Like I said, my sketching's terrible. So, and then with this, you're going to just kind of copy that line and the angle. But this is still going to give you your proportions, right? Because that middle line is going to be the eyebrows. You're going to go up. Here's going to be the hairline. That equal distance down from that cross section is going to be the nose, right? Kind of where the nose is. Then you're going to keep going down in the straight line. Instead of following this curve of the circle, you're actually going to extend out straight right here. And that is going to be your chin, the bottom of your chin, right? Because you're breaking this up into thirds. So we have that. Now you are going to follow this curve on the side of the head and bring this right here. Bring that up. And see, this is what I mean. Like drawing from these weird poses from imagination, or the weird angles, is where it kind of falls off for me. But that's why I need to practice it. This juts out. He looks like a crash test dummy, but that's sort of the point, right? See, and then a good rule of thumb for ears. On this, basically if we were looking at a side shot, and we have this, and we have this for the ears, and then let's say the face is facing this way, the ear would be in the lower rear quadrant right here. And it can be as big as you want it to be, sure, but it's going to be in that rear, so it would actually be like right here, and following that line. And it's about getting the right look, So like I said, these are your kind of generic proportions that you can follow. And then we have like hairline comes up here, and see how it can be really messy. So you have something like that, right? So those are your essential, like your very bare bones basic proportions. So very, very quick. Also, if you want to know where the neck is, once again, it depends on the person. But what I like to do is kind of come between where the line, or where the mark for my bottom of my chin and the ears and the bottom of the earlobe. And I like to come around halfway. And then you can come straight down. Same thing, straight down. There you go. You can always do a nice V-neck taper for the neck. That way you can actually, like, make a costume of some sort. Basically, I'm just boxing in. I'm using just diagonals and diamonds and all that stuff to just sort of give this a little bit of something or other. You see what I mean? You can like build up from there. It's a decent way to get started. Now, it's not perfect, of course. And like, let's say I wanted to give this dude her facial hair. This is where you can start breaking the silhouette a little bit. So if I wanted to give this guy a mustache, you can follow this maw line. And it's nice. I'm growing out my beard now, so I can actually like feel where the beard goes. What's up, Brent? Welcome, my friend. You're in the midst of a Loomis tutorial right now, my friend. So we're gonna break this silhouette. So basically, I'm gonna give him like a old school revolver ocelot mustache here. There's something right here, and it's gonna be on the top. It's gonna be cut where his mouth opening is. You see that? That's a great way to measure it whenever you're growing out your beard. And then let's say I want to connect like the goatee part. I actually use this bottom part of the circle as where the soul patch would be. That seems to be a pretty decent measurement for me. It's worked. It's worked for me for a while, you know. So if we kind of bring down this and bring this up, kind of bring this up. You know, once we add some guiding lines, it'll help show this. But we have this. Then we can maybe bring this up the same way we did the hairline. You can kind of do this. And trust me, this will look a lot better whenever we lower the opacity and actually draw over this. But this is essentially how I work from imagination, is I try to find these type of measurements and what looks okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to extend the beard out. I'm going to follow the jawline that we've established, but I'm going to bring it down a little bit. I'm going to bring it like down here and flatten here at the bottom. And then I'm going to bring it back up. Bring it back up. You know that. So I know this is a lot of weird sketchiness that you can't quite tell maybe what's happening, but we are going, yeah, the high and low angles are the bears. And I mean, the real secret is, and I think I'm actually going to make a YouTube video about this very soon, meaning it might actually be the next YouTube video. Loomis Method is a great starting point. It just, to really make the characters appear to have a lot of character, for me at least, it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of time. This is a great way to get started. I love using the Loomis Method this way. See what I mean? Love kind of doing this because it lets me see it quickly. But there's so much I have to do to make it like a presentable design that there's no get rich quick scheme. There's no, you know, and like, let's say I wanted to actually fix this hairline. Like the hair's fine, but let's say I wanted to make it a little bit more dynamic. I would bring in a lot more diagonals. Diagonals and triangles are really where you can get a lot of mileage. With like character design, which is something I'm really bad at, but it is helpful to kind of study it and know it. So basically I'm going to use that silhouette that I had as a starting point. But you see what I mean? Even this little change of the hair stuff is giving him a little more personality. And then like these can actually kind of cut through there like this. We can even do the little wispy hair like that, coming in, breaking in there. Because I'm definitely not a character designer, not good at it. But doing Loomis Method stuff like this helps. It really does. And then if he's a cool rogue, he has to have like a scar of some sort, you know what I mean? Like, come on now. What kind of rogue would he be without some dramatic eye scar? Bring this. So here is a good measurement. Right here, and you know how we have the flat side of our face. We can also bring in the side, kind of bring in where this cheekbone is and wrap it around for the orbital bone. That top orbital bone, it's actually the bone that gets like destroyed the most if you're playing sports, because it's a very weak bone where your eyebrow is. And then you can kind of like change the look of the eyebrow to go to that new orbital bone placement. So once you have your measurements in, you can make these changes. Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, the heads I posted yesterday on the Discord, I'm thinking about doing a 100 head challenge, but they're really rough. They're like really rough, you know. But that's part of it. I think you just have to do a ton of them, and you have to do a ton of them very, very quickly and try to improve them fast. Because I think that page took me maybe an hour to do. You know what I mean? And I mean, this one, I don't know how long we've been live. I don't have a timer set. I probably should. But I mean, maybe 25 minutes to get this one started. And then if we wanted to bring this one to the next level, we could come here, lower the opacity, right, for that one. And then I can really embarrass myself and try to ink over this. And maybe if I get the technical pencil and I have something like this right here. But now I can just use what I have as the outline of the sketch, right? So I actually want to bring his ears up a little bit. Let me change this to multiply. So it's always much darker over it. Maybe I should actually, yeah, let me get a real ink deal here. Which one did we say we liked last time? Was it Studio Pen? Maybe dry ink. Textures. Elements, spray paint. Maybe it was. It's a little too harsh. Ink bleed. Okay, that one's a little better. So if we have this, and see, this makes me really think about where I'm putting my marks. And we're going to bring this down. And have this be like a nice shave coming straight down, you know. If he uses like a number 2 guard or something right here on the sides. So it's very close to the actual silhouette shape. Actually needs to come up. And this one goes around. All right. See, this would be a fun kind of like Final Fantasy Tactics style realistic character. That's kind of what I envision, sort of a knight or a squire of some sort. You know, and I'm just going to kind of dart around all these different areas. See, I should probably brace my hand against the iPad instead of like hovering my hand over it. I think the iPad's smart enough to know what's my palm and what's like the Apple Pencil. You know what I mean? Another thing I want to do, I can do this one, and then I might do one more on stream tonight of a woman, because the Loomis method is great because it can work with any type of face and any face shape. You just have to get your basic building blocks in, and then you can start manipulating it. And that might be what we do. So I like the idea of the sharp hair and like head, because it's like anime style, but not really, you know? I'm sort of liking that hybrid. How could I make a more sketchy comic book style, but have it look more like manga influenced without it looking like a manga? I think there might be something to that. And so far, I'm just seeing a lot of shapes, a lot of good shapes. Maybe this hair is actually coming up. Maybe he has like slicked up hair, you know? I think what's really going to help this is whenever I have, let's come over here. Like that's where... something like this, replicating the same face for a series of images. Yeah. I have found, because I've been doing some studies off stream and off YouTube and stuff, what I have found is I'm actually liking the Loomis method more and more, and really trying to nail it down properly, because that actually helps with that. Because then I know what changes I made to the Loomis method, and then I just replicate the change to the best of my ability. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I made the eyebrows bigger. Well, then I do that at the side profile. You know, I do that. But it's hard. Like, you know, there's a lot of artists that talk about they have same face syndrome, to where all they can do is like draw the same face over and over. And I was like, listen, I got the opposite of that. I can never make the same face twice. You know? I'm actually going to make his eyes a little bigger. Come out here the same. See how well I can edit this. But yeah, I have the opposite problem. I do not have same face syndrome at all. I wish I did. It'd be a very helpful thing to have making a comic, you know? And it's funny, something that I've learned recently, it actually helps. Doesn't matter if you're drawing male, female, you know, unisex, anything. The top part of the eyelid is darker than the bottom. It just works. You don't have to worry about like, oh, what if it looks like my character's wearing makeup? For whatever reason, I think it's just because our eyelids naturally cast a shadow under our eyeball, no matter really where the light's coming from, since the eye is within a socket and the eyelids are over it. That helps simplify the idea that the eye is more sunken in. Something like that. And then like here, real secret's gonna be nostril. It's funny. This looks like a Hemsworth brother. Which just goes to show, I guess, how perfect their faces are, right? Like perfectly proportionate. And there's another thing that I'm like telling myself lately is I'm always so worried that my sketches look so rough and so bad and that I need to like quote unquote fix them for final. And then part of me is like, yeah, no, duh, idiot. That's how everybody works. Like everybody's sketches are rough. You know, like it doesn't have to be perfect from the nanosecond that it's starting to get made. You know, it's allowed to look rough and look ugly even in like the early drawing stages. I think just trusting that process, you know. And this. And really the nostrils and the nose and stuff. We've talked about it before, but I love doing them, but it's all based on value. It's not really based on lines. I can't do lines very well for a nose. We have that, and that kind of comes around. Okay. Let me sort of make that here a little. There we go. And this can come all the way down. Okay. So once again, we can kind of animate this up a little bit. Sort of your triangle shapes, your diagonals, your... You know, maybe this comes down, cuts through here, like so. Just follow this up. All right. So something like that, yeah? And now, because the beard is kind of blocking where the neck is, I'm going to extend the neck out a little bit here. But we're still going to do that diagonal, like here. And then we can do this. And sort of that same thing up here. You know what I mean? And then really the secret, I learned this honestly from an old game. It's actually getting a remaster, I think at the beginning of, or it's coming out pretty soon, either in like December or January. The Legacy of Kain, Soul Reaver. I was obsessed with how they drew Raziel's scarf over his mouth. Back when that game first came out, I was like, that's the coolest looking thing I've ever seen. It was all triangles. All of it. Like Spawn is the same way. Spawn's cowl and his cape is just triangles. And it's a super awesome, like rad, easy design. Triangles just work, man. They just do. Whenever you're dealing with this type of stuff, and you can fill in the details later, of course. And then like, we can have it like little wavy areas where shadows are going to be, but really, I mean, you know, like this part here can be pretty dark, and then like this can be pretty dark right here, right? Yeah, for sure. So this is, I mean, this is kind of it, right? So if we come in, we kind of hide this initial one. Yeah, that looks okay. You know what I mean? Like, there's not a ton of character to it, I don't think. Not yet, at least. But that's fine. I think if we come in... If we come in maybe here, and now this is where we want to come in and do like... We just grab our standard round, and then we want to do, let's say, our gray. Now let's try to actually, you know, let's actually try to do something here. So if we have this color gray, I'm gonna come in and just fill in this big area first. I'm looking at the capture card right now, and like, yeah, I think this is going way smoother than the AirPlay streaming capture was. Like, you guys are actually seeing the strokes as they go down instead of weird default or like delayed lines, you know. And something else I've been meaning to try, and I'm actually going to try it on this stream. I'm going to do a majority of my painting, even the quote-unquote brushy stuff, with just the hard round brush. I think I'm liking that sort of concept art look. You can see how there's differences in pressure at different points. So you still get this nice, almost painterly look, without having thick paint strokes, right? Just based on how you're doing your opacity and like pressure stuff. So we have something like this. And then if we come in and then we can lighten, and here's where we're going to block out shapes. So check this out. I'm thinking we're just going to have our standard forward-facing light, but slightly up. So maybe 45 degree pointing down. So if I bring in... We maybe come all the way to the side here. And then like here's going to be light hitting. Here's going to be light hitting like top of the brow, right? I think the real magic is going to be... This is kind of where this is, right? I think if we do like a hard hit of light right here, and then we do kind of the eye pocket shadow, right? Almost like really long sunglasses. I think this gives us a little bit of room to play. So if we come down here, come right here. It looks weird right now because the values are off, because the pressure sensitivity's off. But I think this should look pretty cool here in a second. Basically, you have that. Kind of do this. Do something like that. And see what we're even going to do. You know how lately I've been talking about doing sketching last? We're going to do that same thing here. Because I think I know what's going to make this really kind of work. Kind of flatten this out a little bit, like smooth this out. Bring in higher highlight there, higher highlight there. And then if it was like higher highlight, tip of the nose, highest highlight. And then we can sort of build from here, right? Because once we start bringing in the darks, I think this is really going to start working. And remember, this is just hard round brush right now. Yeah, oh yeah, you could definitely do this with charcoal brushes, for sure. I'm just liking, well, I say I'm liking, I want to start using more hard round brushes and like soft round. Because another thing that I've noticed is a lot of clients are liking the style of certain artworks, but they wonder what it would look like, quote unquote, finished. And what that means is no visible brushstrokes. I don't know what it is, but with clients lately, they think visible brushstrokes means it's not finished. Because they're used to like the League of Legends sort of higher, you know, render stuff. Which isn't bad. I mean, you know what I mean? Another thing, dark in the eyes. It seems counterintuitive. It actually makes your character more believable if you darken around the eyes. Right? But yeah, they see brushstrokes and they think unfinished. Which isn't fair. But, you know, that's up to the client, not up to me. So getting, oh yeah, duh, we can actually use that dark right there. Bring in a shadow. Check that out. That one little shadow. Look how much form that added to the, you know, and then you can even bring up some of this right here. You can bring these down. Bring something like this down too. But it's little things like that that kind of make or break working with some clients. Just the smoothness of it all. You know. Do I think it's just a trend? No. I mean, every style is just a trend at the end of the day, right? But I think it's been the default for so long, and it's very much Fortnite, Blizzard. You know, when you look up concept art, like, it's all no brushstroke stuff, and it has been for 15 years now, you know. Yeah, it's just been that way. And I think more and more people, which is crazy to me, because like the no brushstroke stuff can actually be copied easier by AI, you know. So it's weird. I mean, something like this, we can also kind of get the neck here. So see how we're just kind of like playing with the values a little bit? Like, a lot of the values are very similar next to each other, but we can start giving a little bit more emphasis on some places as opposed to other places. And see, just using this. But like I said, even the sketch stuff that we're going to do here in a second, I think is really going to help this. But this just goes to show kind of how impactful the Loomis method is, just to get you started. It doesn't have to be the only way to draw faces. For me, it kind of is the only way I draw faces, especially now that I'm getting more accustomed to it again, because I haven't done it in so long. I was worried. I worked on landscapes for, a long time, but having the Loomis method be kind of the default is really nice, because I know as long as I follow that proportion, it's going to be okay. As long as I cut it into thirds and do the thing. Isolda, welcome. Very good to see you. Hope you're doing well. So yeah, we just have this right here. Side of the nose. And see how we're just kind of playing around within the same value structure. Like, a lot of people would make the eyes too, they'd make the eyes too bright. And we have something like this. Let's actually darken this a little bit more. Darken that a little bit more. Part of the beard's away from the light, so it's going to be it's cool. You can play with these shadow shapes and really make a nice like cool character stuff just with these shadow shapes. It's funny now that I'm adding more dynamic shadows. He's starting to look like Big Boss from Metal Gear, or like Solid Snake, which is funny. It's not my intent, but hey, I'll take it. It's a great character design, so. So yeah, and then if we came back in with the lighter stuff, and then started like slowly building it up. This is a very Anthony Jones way of working. How he does his values. And he actually uses a lot of soft and hard round brushes too. He kind of stays away from the textured brushes unless there's a very specific reason to use it. On the industry, yeah, I didn't watch it in its entirety, but yeah, I had it kind of on in the background while the kids were playing, and I mean, he's right. The industry is doing some weird stuff right now. It's gonna have to figure itself out, and yeah, poor Donato. Donato's just been through the ringer. Same thing as Greg Rutkowski, and those have been like two of the highlight talents in the industry for a long time, right? But it's just it's upsetting that they're running through so much. I mean, because our art is so good, it's going to be used all the time. And yeah, the way contracts are written, like all of the stuff I've ever made for Warhammer, all of the stuff I've ever made for Star Wars or whatever, can be used at any time, for any reason, in any way, without them paying me again. You know what I mean? You get paid once, and then they own that stuff forever, like in perpetuity. They own it. They can put it on merch. They can put it on everything. If they put my Boba Fett pictures on T-shirts and sold 1 billion T-shirts, I wouldn't see a dime of it. That's just the way it is working with those companies, and they know they can get away with it because everyone wants to work on Star Wars. You know, everyone wants to work on Warhammer. So they're like, hey, do you want to work with this IP and have your art in the annals of history? And you're like, sure. And they're like, all right. You know, and to be fair, totally upfront, Warhammer pays okay, and Star Wars paid pretty well. Like the Star Wars gig was the most I ever made on any illustration gig. And the nice thing is, I think they actually have it to where my art can only be used for reprints of the same project. It's not something that they're just going to like up and make new products and all that stuff. Now, I will say on every single illustration thing I do, I make sure it's in my contract that if they use my stuff again, I get credited again. So then it looks like, it sounds weird, it looks like I'm part of more projects than I actually am. So like 10 years from now, if Warhammer uses my art again for whatever reason, it would look like I was part of whatever project they made with that art. Like my name would be in the credits, right? And that's kind of a non-negotiable for me. And usually clients are pretty good about it. The big and the small clients are pretty good about like, yeah, if we ever use it, we'll credit you. And I've never ran into problems. But I know with Donato, apparently his stuff was used in like art Bibles. But the way his contract worked, and he's very smart for doing this, is anytime his stuff was used in an official capacity, meaning it was published by Wizards of the Coast, he was going to get paid. And they agreed to that. They agreed, my understanding is they agreed to that with signed documentation years and years ago. And they kept up with that for a while. Anytime they would want to use it, they would reach out to him, hey, we want to use this piece in this. We're going to compensate you this much. Is that okay? And he would say yes or no. He had control over his stuff, which you should. But now with new ownership, they've stopped doing that. And now they're talking about using generative AI. You know, they have AI people on staff now. So now they've basically fed everything that's ever been commissioned into their AI algorithm. Like it is a disaster waiting to happen. It's going to be an absolute PR nightmare. The moment it is proven, and it's already happened a few times, but they've kind of backed off and, well, we're real sorry and it won't happen again stuff. But the moment we see knockoffs of like Carla Ortiz or Cynthia Shepard or, you know, whoever, and you can draw a straight line of being like, oh, this is a ripoff of this person's artwork, it's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be a good time for much of anybody, I don't think. And, you know, that's partly why I'm kind of going through the ringer myself, as far as like, I need to improve on certain weak points, such as what we're working on right now. Because if I plan on doing my own thing, making my own IP, making my own like stories or comics or world building guides or whatever, and licensing them out to where I always own the IP, you know, we got to get better at these type of things first. I think that's the way of the future, in my opinion. I think every artist not only should not worry about other people's styles, but should literally embrace your own style, because that is the stuff that's going to be valuable, instead of a hodgepodge of everybody else's stuff. So that actually comes back to why the Loomis method is so important. It is a great way to get some basic measurements for a face, for, you know, head rendering, and you can start making your own stuff, and it can have its own feel, because you can slightly alter the way the Loomis method measurements work into something that you find a little bit more appealing, or, you know what I mean? It's a good way to go. Alan Dean Foster. Oh, yep. Ooh, got new Paintstorm Studio. Heck yeah. The brushes are great in Paintstorm. I love it, love it, love it. So we had that scar. That was like up here, right? So we have that. And we come back here. Do something like this. But yeah, there's a lot of power in being able to make your stuff from imagination, which is what we are definitely studying to do right here. The more comfortable these methods are, the easier making stuff from scratch is going to be. And like I said, I think that is going to be the thing. But yeah, that's the deal. You never know who your publisher is going to be, who they sell to. So even when websites are like, join our website, we vow to never do generative AI. It's like, well, I believe you right now, but what happens when an angel investor comes in and offers you $8 billion, and then you sell, and then the second they buy the rights to it, then they train their AI on whatever? Or, you know what I mean? Or, because you never know who you're really working for. You never know. But if you can actually, if you have the skill, you know, that's also why I say all the time, like, if you chase skills and not jobs, you're going to go farther. Because you're going to be doing your own thing. You're going to be learning at your own pace. You're not going to be worried about where the ebbs and flows of the industry are and stuff. Like, it's funny right now. I'm doing this as practice. And I know I said earlier that a lot of clients lately are more like, okay, lose the brushstrokes and we'll talk. Sometimes you have to do the necessary evil in order to put food on the table. But actually practicing with this method is going to help me with my more painterly stuff, because I'm going to kind of understand where I can put detail, where I can take it away. You know, where I can kind of render a little better and where I can get away with certain things. And I'm using it as kind of a calling card to something else. Because like I don't live and breathe based on like if I make splash art for League of Legends. Like I kind of don't care. I don't care if I ever work with Warhammer again. I don't care if I ever work with Star Wars again. It's great and I would love to. But if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. And kind of having control over your own creative destiny is a little, in my opinion, lately, it's a little more important than, you know, because I mean, who's to say that I don't, you know, draw a graphic novel or whatever, and then it might take off and somebody wants to license it out to make it, you know, a mini series or whatever. Not to say it will happen. It's a 1 in a billion shot. And that's not the intent of making the thing. The thing is going to be made so that way I can practice dynamic camera angles. That's really it. And like tell a narrative within single paintings, but over the course of a book. It's really more of an exercise than it is like, I dream of being a comic artist. Like I don't. I genuinely don't. If I never work in official comic books, that's fine with me. I don't care about working for Marvel or DC. I don't care. Do not care. I care about getting better at the thing I'm doing. And the thing I need work on is storytelling. I need work on storytelling. I need work on consistency, being able to draft a narrative. And it seems like with all of those things, making a small graphic novel or 2 or 3 or 4 might be the way to get there. Do you know what I mean? Like it is a means to an end. So yeah, here we go. See, now we're cooking with gas a little bit. See, and it's funny, all these little, you know, wet on wet brush stroke, even with a hard round brush, the rendering starts working after a while, and it starts getting a little bit more weathered and a little bit more fun to look at. It's not smooth by any means, but it doesn't have to be, not in my opinion. And it's funny, here in a second, I'll actually try to take this into a more painterly way, you know. Oh yeah, there are some incredible tabletop artists. Sam Manley's one of them. Sam's my boy. But Sam Manley is a beast. He has such a distinct style. I can see his art from 10 miles away and be like, oh yeah, that's a Sam Manley. And I keep telling him, I'm like, man, that's your calling card. You know, because we've had some heart-to-hearts about like art styles and things like that, and he has a really great attitude towards it. He's like, just make it. He was like, the style's going to happen regardless. Just make the thing. Don't worry about brush strokes. Don't worry about anything. Just make it. If they ask for a dude with a helmet on, make a dude with a helmet on. Who cares? And it's not like a flippant way, but he's more like, you know, if you stress about the wrong stuff, you're going to drive yourself crazy, which is very true. But he's also been a pro for, I think we're the same age, but he's been a pro for like 20 years. He's been on the grind forever and ever. And it shows. His work is super top notch. It doesn't matter what, you know, Warhammer gets him to paint. He paints it. He paints the hell out of it. It's awesome. Let's do that. Let's bring this down. Let's actually make this a little darker. Because right now, the beard and the neck are about the same value. I need the neck to be darker because it's in shadow. Okay. So yeah, I mean, this is looking okay. It's feeling okay, you know. I could even come up here this. And then I wonder if I come over here, there's sketch right there. Let me grab my sketch brushes. And now I'm going to come in and I'm actually going to draw with different, I'm actually going to sketch. I'm going to sketch, but I'm going to use these values that we've already established, right? Actually get something that we're pretty happy with. So for instance, if I get one of these darker shadows and I come in here like this, we come in here and this is where we have our scar. Oh, Morkborg. Yeah, see, Morkborg's one of those amazing projects. It has such a unique look. Yeah, that's one that's got it for sure. So if we came over here, let me straighten this out. I'm here. Let me see. What would this be? Oh, that's way too bright. Oh my gosh. Okay. That's way too bright as well. Let's do this one. Yeah, that's better. I need something a little lighter to find the under eye socket. There we go. If we like, we got that black there. And if we do something like this, there we go. See, we're keeping this pretty rough shot. Keeping it pretty rough. Yeah, this is just a pencil brush, the 6B pencil. It's funny, I have 6B pencils behind me right now on my, I have a sketchbook that I'm going to do some watercolor stuff in. I have my 6B brushes and a few, oh, what are they? The Willow Charcoal that I'm going to do some stuff with. Whenever I get time, I got that out to practice with. See how we just have something doing just little sketch lines. These are more like gestural sketch lines, you know, because as we come back, these little gestural sketch lines are actually going to help define the form a little more. So like if I came up here and then I did, you know, this, and I came back over here and did this, see what I mean? Now we're starting to bring the sketch of the skull back in. If we do something like this, and see, it's funny, the only reason I haven't really started the comic yet, you know, I kind of worked a little bit on that idea of the cover and stuff, but like, this to me would just take, it's just going to take so long. It's going to be such a long freaking project, man. Because like if this method is taking this long just to get a very bare bones sketch, you know, I would love to make my comic maybe even at this quality, you know what I mean? But how freaking long is every panel going to take? A 5-page comic would take 6 months to make or something, you know what I mean? Like, that's just not, it's not even feasible. Here's what we'll do. Let's do this. Sharpen these up. Sharpen that. Let me grab that. Seeing if we did like the top part of the nostril like that. That. But really, that's why I'm an illustrator more than I am like, I'm going to be a comic book artist. It's like, my method takes forever. I work super slow. I used to work super fast, but then I look at my work and I'm like, oh, that's why it was fast, is because it's not very good. Like, you know what I mean? That's the one thing I have gotten with a little bit more experience under my belt, is I'm like, oh, I was so excited by how fast I worked, but it's not really about how fast you are, it's about how good you are, right? Like, it's good to be quick, it's good, but it's not everything. And a client doesn't really care how fast you made something. It's not any good. So let's do this. Bring this up and over. Wolf Hunter, what's up, brother? Resub for 11 months. Dude, you are a gentleman, a scholar. Everyone give it up for Wolf Hunter. He has been an online bud of mine for 10 years now. Appreciate you very much, man. Hope you're doing good. Let me scratch those out. It's funny, this is almost like a... this face has turned into like 4 or 5 different people, you know? It's funny how that works.
Is that grizzled vet left?
Marco! The grizzled vet. This is the grizzled vet right here. That's who we're drawing. Yeah. It's see, and I know from experience, because I'm growing my beard out, that this part of the beard is a circle, because it's going from the chin. So it's there like that. Give that a little bit more volume. Here we go. Yeah, dude, it's looking pretty good. It's looking okay, you know. So I'm sort of just adding more. Adding more sketch lines. Oh, and actually, I know what I can do. This should look kind of cool if I thought about this right. Instead of black lines right here. If I turn these white, and then kind of the same color as the skin, the hair is going to actually look a little more like hair, because, you know, hair follicles go into the skull, into the scalp. So instead of having it all black outlines, do this, it'll add a little bit more to the non-manga look. And it's a simple change, right? Very simple change, but actually does a lot. Does quite a bit for you. I'll pick this color. That way I'll just go and kind of sketch into here. So yeah, we got this over here, same thing here. Cool. Yeah, it's funny. Now he's looking like Tom Hardy mixed with a Hemsworth brother, mixed with Solid Snake, mixed with, you know. That's how mine is too. My beard is exactly white in these like small patches right down here. Like, let me see if I can. It's literally like. You'll see it when we get back to the screen. There, and then there's some over here. And it's funny, the white hairs just started like a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. Like there were little ones here and there, but now there's like actual patches of it. It's funny. There we go. Alright, so this is going to be here. So this one might be close to a wrap. If I do something like that, okay. Like I said, I would love to do a graphic novel in this style, but I would also have to start practicing more of the Loomis method on like drawing bodies, which is all very like rectangle based, like shapes within shapes within shapes, which is fine. It's just either I would have to do that or I would just find like 3D models. In a perfect world, if I could use ZBrush, I could just sculpt the character and then form him to the skeleton that then I could pose in Unity or Unreal Engine or whatever. Just do that, you know. So that, that. Oil pockets right there. Let me get this. Let me sketch in the bags under his eyes, essentially. See, it's funny. I am really liking the method of sketching after painting. I think it does a whole lot as far as like adding detail, even though there is no detail. What's up, Cody? What's up, brother? Yeah, we're just trying to do some crazy Loomis Method stuff. Thanks, man. Yeah, like I said, I like the Loomis Method for the structure of it, but it's also that's funny. It's funny how stylized it is, like turning off other parts of it. Like if we keep that sketch where you can actually see the... I wonder what happened if... Let's bring that opacity back up. All the structure lines. It's just noise at that point, you know what I mean? Yeah, and like if I were to take this to a painting, final, what I would probably do is I might even change this to normal to lighten it, and then I would lower the opacity a little bit, like this. You see what I mean? Even with that being not all the way gone, but just soft enough, it makes it look more quote-unquote realistic because you're getting rid of, you know, you're getting rid of lines. But part of me likes the lines. With Loomis Method stuff, I kind of like the lines. You know? Like, you could definitely, let's say if we did, see, I still forgot all the shortcut keys for Procreate. I still don't use it enough. But like if we came in here and we did, let's say, oil max packs, and then you just grab yourself a nice, clean oil round. Came right here, came over here. Make this a little messy here. Yeah, I think, dude, your work on the Discord has been nuts lately, brother. Your work's been super good. I've been looking at it, I was like, dang, Cody's putting in the work. Oh, but I can definitely see it. You know what I mean? Like, it's a more... It sounds weird, and like non-illustrators and non-artists won't think it makes sense, but it looks more alive. Even though it's more stylized, it looks more alive. And I think there's something to that. I think that's the thing. If we want to talk about things to make you non-AI-able, it's having life in your work. Because the one thing that AI will never have is life in its work. Yeah, we never can. We can never see improvement. It's funny, the past like 4 or 5 pieces I've posted on the Discord are actually worse than anything I've posted recently. You know what I mean? Like, I'm in my phase right now to where, since I'm trying all the stuff I'm bad at, it's all way worse than my normal. Like, I'm going to post this and put it on my portfolio, and then I'm going to look for jobs. Like, I'm not doing that right now. I'm like, I need to get better at a whole bunch of stuff. So I'm going to practice. And that stuff's way worse, you know? So if I do that, if I came in and did heavy oil. I wonder if this is like the secret to how I could do a Yoji Shinkawa style. Do a really kind of manga-esque base first, then come in on top of it like this. In fact, I think in the next few weeks I'm going to be getting my next tattoo, and I'm pretty sure I need to find one, but I would love to get a Yoji Shinkawa Metal Gear Solid, like a big tattoo as part of my sleeve. But I love that look. Let me try this. Let me get... And the nice thing about doing this is you can just color pick. Oh, funny. That has a little bit of pigment to it, too. Let's do rough oil. See, and it's funny, you can just come over the edges. It doesn't even have to be a super thick brush stroke. It can just be coming over the edges of this stuff. If it's like that. Stuck making slow progress. Yeah, so the good news is slow progress is progress that sticks. Whenever it's funny, it sounds counterintuitive. Whenever your progress is happening super fast, be wary of that, because that will not last. But if you're slowly getting better, that's where the grind is. Like, that's where you're going to remember every lesson you learn. You know what I mean? Because you're in it. You're in the thick of it. It's like emotional intelligence, right? It's like, instead of, you know, if something bad happens in your life or whatever, like, instead of trying to get over it, like, oh, get over it. Oh, it's happened and bad things happen. Get over it. No. The secret is to get through it. Go through it. Because then you have experience. You're not starting from square one. You are starting from experience. And that is money. Experience is what people pay for. That's what gets you jobs. That's what this whole thing is about, is experience. So I've thought about that. I'm like, okay, I'm doing Scott Robertson tutorials. I'm going back to the basics. I'm redoing Loomis Method. I'm learning all this stuff. And you would think, well, if I'm already a pro, why am I doing that? Why am I going back to the very fundamental bare bones? And really, I even talked with my wife about it. I was like, listen, if this is my end goal, like if I will literally be an artist professionally until the day that I die, I'm only 38 years old. You know, knock on wood, you live the full life. You know, the average life expectancy, I think, in America, in the Midwest, is like 76 to 80, right? It's right around there. So if I'm looking at that, I got another, 40 years? So if I do slow and steady wins the race for 40 years, whenever I'm in, my mid-60s, I'm going to be pretty freaking good. It's a weird way to think, but like, it's almost kind of how you have to think. I know it's easy and like kind of, sexy to want to get good right now. And, I definitely do. But this is a long game. This is, Father Time remains undefeated. Just is what it is. So instead of setting a goal like a week from now, I should be 20% better at art, it should be like 10 years from now, where am I going to be? What am I going to be doing? So we have that. Yeah, there's Duder, right? It's pretty good. One more thing we can do, we can kind of get rid of, if we come over here, let me get my newer brush pack. Let me get, that one, flat grainy canvas. Let me get that one. Let me select this color. Actually get that because I can make this bottom lip, right? Got that. We got, let me get this darker color. Now I'm just sort of coming in and a little bit more texture to this stuff right here. Getting rid of some of the harder pure black. Right there. That's cool. Yeah, I mean, art is a lifelong pursuit. And as long as you remember that it is a lifelong pursuit, any progress is good progress. You know what I mean? Like, every little bit counts. I'm digging that canvas texture. So we're gonna completely cover this thing in it. Because the one thing I don't have is tact. You can say what you will about me. Tactful is not one of them. That. I'm gonna use this. And what's nice, the optical illusion of having textured brushes, you would think because this has some texture on it and these have texture, that this whole thing is just covered in texture brushes, but it's not. It's really not. It's just hard round, soft round brush, and then you come over top of it with these edges that are slightly different, you know. It's amazing what a little bit of edge control can do. Because our job at a certain level is to be magicians. Our job is to trick people into thinking things. It's to trick people into thinking, wow, look at all those really luscious brushes that they use. Wow, look at the form of this. It's like, no, it's all light and dark and optical illusion. I mean, you're essentially trying to make something on a flat 2D piece of paper. You're trying to make that, you know, look 3D. So it all has to be bells and whistles. It all has to be something like that, you know. So I think Duder here, I think he's fine. The thing I would probably fix, if I were to quote unquote fix this Loomis Method thing, I would make his eyes smaller. I think part of how I stylize the Loomis Method, I always make my noses too long, and I make my eyes a little too big. But I'm kind of okay with that. I'm at this weird point right now, and I don't know, I say it's a weird point, but it might actually be one of those like liberating points. Instead of trying to fix the things that I consider to be like issues, so like, oh, the eyes are too big and the nose is too long and, you know, that type of thing, I think there might be power in embracing those and making them look better. Making the bigger eyes work better. Making the longer nose work better. Instead of trying to fix it to where it's not an issue, make it the calling card instead of thinking it's the weaker point. Because for every piece of art you ever make, it's only as good as its weakest part. And if people would like look at this and like, yeah, sure, you do cool brushes or whatever, and like, yeah, the sketch is fine, but hey, those eyes are too big, that might be the thing to look at. Or you can embrace it and make that your thing. Be like, oh, well, and the thing is, there's a reason why. There's a reason why anime has done larger eyes, and it makes total sense because Disney did it as well. In fact, I'm trying to think of, did Japan do it first or did Disney do it first? Because you have to think, like, if you go back and watch Bambi, if you go back and watch Dumbo, if you watch, you know, some of the earliest animated films, you get emotion through the eyes. So it makes total sense that the eyes would be bigger, because that's where your money is. To look into someone or something's eyes and you see the emotion, that's what sells it. So knowing that that's where it comes from, you can embrace it. You really can. It's just, I have this thing to where I either don't go far enough or I go too far. And you should either do it or don't. Do you know what I mean? Like S or get off the pot type of thing. Like if you can't be half pregnant, you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. So like trying to like slyly do it a little bit, that's where it looks uncanny and it looks wrong. Is if you don't embrace it enough, you know. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. It's like, okay, do I fully embrace the things that I find as issues? Because I do them every time. I make the nose too long and I make the eyes too big every single time. So I might as well learn how to do it right. You know what I mean? So thank you, Cody. Yeah, like I do feel better about this one, and I do think us doing the standard Loomis Method measurements worked. Because this does feel more structurally sound. Like the face looks and it feels more, I'm not going to say correct, but like, you know what I mean? So here's where the fun one is. Let's go ahead and we're just going to do a quick sketch. It won't be as in-depth as this one. Let's go ahead. I'm actually just going to do it right here and make a new deal. Use my cool trick. Yay. Yay. I know how to do a Procreate thing. Let's come over here. Let's do sketching. I'm liking the 6B pencil. I'm noticing I'm liking the bigger pencils. I'm going to mute my mic real quick. I'm about to open a can of sparkling water. So I don't want to like blow out everybody's eardrums. Give me like 5 seconds. All right, that was longer than 5 seconds, but I took a drink, so that's why. Oh, what's up? Hey Wes, hope you're doing fine. I'm not good at portraits, but I try to draw from observation and I sculpt my way during the initial sketching. Do you think drawing from observation helps? Oh yeah. Yes. Do that. So, to put it kind of into perspective, why I'm doing what I'm doing now and trying to do the Loomis Method from imagination is because I learned how to do portraits by doing portraits through photo references and through life. So like life drawing, portrait drawing, you know, we had a sitter, 4 or 5 hour sessions, you know, that type of thing, where you would go and paint that way. In my opinion, that's really the only way to learn at first. I know it's not applicable for everybody. Not everybody has an art school they can go to or a, life drawing class or something. But I do think you can draw just anything around you. And even if you don't like drawing, if you're like me and you prefer painting, paint things around you. Like you can get charcoal, you can get even a really cheap set of like, people will knock on quote unquote Walmart acrylic paints, you know, like Apple Barrel, or, you know, basically the paints that are 50 cents a bottle. Buy them, use them. You can make some incredible looking art with 50-cent paints, you know. I have 3 kids and, you know, my oldest has kind of grown out of it a little bit, but you know, those little coloring books that come with the little watercolor sets that they're like on a plastic long line. Do you know what I mean? And like they're in each of their little cans, their little containers, but it's all connected. Buy those. You know, the paint by number sets. Get those. They're paints. You know what I mean? Really getting in and learning how these things work. Get you a box of Crayola crayons. You know, go to the dollar store or go in like the quote unquote bad art supplies. Get them. You would be amazed at what you can make with them, because it's It's all about the technique. It's all about learning why things are the way they are. And the only way you can do that is by observing. So I think observation is the perfect way to go. I think you're right on the money. So yeah, keep going. You know what I mean? Just keep going through observation. The reason why I'm wanting to start doing more from imagination now is because I feel like I need to. I rely too much on observation, meaning that like if I'm working on a piece for a client, a lot of my time was spent looking for references more so than actually painting. And at a certain level, it felt like I was spending all of my time trying to find a good reference or going into 3D and trying to sculpt something or trying to make something, when I'm like, if I just got better at working from imagination and like putting down sketch marks and putting down charcoal and putting down whatever, and like making it work, maybe I wouldn't need as much reference, and maybe I can get more art done faster, that's better, that looks better, fits the needs. I'm not beholden to somebody else, meaning like I don't need to buy a reference pack. I don't need internet access to go get Google Images or Pinterest or whatever. Like, I'm feeling like, okay, lately I just need to learn how to think and then do the skill of getting what's in my brain down onto the paper. And everything else is just kind of noise. You know what I mean? So learning structure, learning something like the Loomis Method or the Riley Method, if that works better, or, starting from observation to learn how things look and how things work is a great way to go, because you're going to be building that visual library. You might hear that term a lot if you watch a lot of other YouTubers. If you're building that library, you're going to know how a tree works. Oh, it's thickest at the base, and then it gets thinner as it goes up because it's further away from the roots. And then, there's rules that things follow. And if you learn those by observing them, that's when you can start designing cool stuff from imagination, because I hate spending time looking for it. My illustrations aren't as good as it's funny. I guess it's one of those like, the grass is always greener type things. But I think that you having the approach of working from imagination and then finding reference later is the perfect way to do it. Because the more important skill is coming up with the idea. Coming up with an idea like, I wonder if I could do that. And then you try it and you're like, God, this looks terrible. Let me try to find something and see what I'm doing wrong. That's a more impactful, effective way of working. Because the way I learned, and it was kind of beaten into me in art school, was draw this or paint this to make it look as realistic as possible. Or not realistic, I guess, but like transfer what you see. Then, once you've done that 500 times, still transfer what you see, but now start adding something. Now add an apple. Add, longer ears. Make this character or make this portrait an elf instead of a human. Make it an orc instead of a human. But keep the proportions the same. Keep everything the same, but turn this person into this. And then you were slowly you were almost like drip feeding your imagination into it. Instead of, hey, I have this cool baller idea in my head. I'm going to try to get it out. Oh no, this looks kind of weak. I don't know how to draw a wagon. I don't know how to draw, if I'm doing a Western thing. Oh God, how would this horse run? If this horse is going this way, what's going on? Then you find a reference. You're going to remember it better. Because there's a reason why you need the reference. Instead of having 5,000 references and I think I can put this all together into something. Now you're beholden to the reference. It is dictating the image for you. And I think that's a bad way to go. And that's really the way I work. That's the way I've worked. I'm a pro and I've worked on cool stuff. But if you notice, all of the things that I've worked on already has established stuff created. Really, Varia is the only thing that I've ever worked on to where, you know, my art director, Anthony, God bless him, he's like, no, I don't care what other people are doing. What do you have in that crazy brain of yours? Put it on paper. I don't care how bad you think it is. I want to see it. I'm like, okay. So that was a great job. But I mean, Star Wars, I literally used some of the photos, production photos, as reference for those cards. They just needed paintings of pictures. And that's what I do. I'm a trained monkey. I know how to look at a picture and put it down on a canvas. You know what I mean? Warhammer's the same way. They have predetermined designs. Everything that you see in a Warhammer piece of art comes down to if Game Workshop approves it or not. What's that armor? What's this design? What's that helmet? This helmet should have 3 spikes, not 4. This should, like, they are super specific. And it usually has to match a model. They're usually trying to sell a model, so it needs to match model. Yeah, you can do different poses and stuff and big action shots and whatever, but like, you're not designing anything. You might be designing your image, but you don't design what's in it. So that's where the benefit of like learning to work from observation first and then imagination second, that's kind of what the job is. Put this character on that doing this. Okay. And then you don't have to think about it. It's decided for you. But working from imagination, you make those decisions and then you find things in the real world that can kind of support that. I think it's a more creative way to go. Like if I were to change anything about my method, it would be, I would want to work more like Cody than the way I work right now. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's difficulty getting the side circle and the front line of those type of poses correct. Yes. So let me, that's actually a great idea. It's funny, what I was wanting to do, I might do it next time. I was wondering if I could do a Loomis method and make a character that has no facial features. So like make an alien. Like make an alien with like 10 eyes, but try to somehow like have the Loomis method dictate the proportions, but not make it look human. Like I was wondering, is that possible? Like, could I start that way and see what happens? Like, that'd be crazy. But that's actually a great idea. So let's try that. This won't be a very pretty character, but let's do that. Okay. So first off, let me go ahead, let me put in the circle and let me cheat. Actually, that's terrible. Good God. There we go. Hold it down. Okay. Yes, I use all the Procreate cheats because my line art is dreadful. Dreadful. So the first thing I do is I always just put kind of a perfect circle or some sort of sphere down, right? Then I need to figure out the angle, and that's where we use our cross lines. So in the first one, we did an exact, like, full frontal, like, perfect cross. This one is going to be a little bit different. The first thing I like to do is I like to do the eye line. So that's the one that goes around it horizontally, okay? And this is where you would do, like, marching ants, or there's different words for it, but basically you do a contour line about where the eyebrows are going to be on this character. So if it's going to be like, it's going to take me a few times to do this because, like, I am very bad at this as well. I'm not great at, like, contour line stuff. I need to get better at it. Basically just draw a Pokeball, right? Make this a Pokeball. So if this is our eye line, right, our character is going to be looking up this way. And the way you confirm that is doing another contour line of where the nose is going to be pointing. So basically, your dot, this cross area, is going to be facing where the character's facing, essentially, right? So now This is where working in like 3D programs really come into play. Kind of learning how to see in 3D in your mind. So it's weird. I have whatever that thing is where you shut your eyes. And for the first while, like, God, 2018, 2019, whenever I started getting back into art, I couldn't visualize anything. Like whenever I shut my eyes, if you would have told me, hey, make a sphere in your head and put the little cross on it and now turn it in your mind. Like turn it to where you can see where the lines are and the crosses. I couldn't do it. But I started working in Blender. I started working in these different 3D programs just to see what would happen if I turned the shape. That's all I did. I just got squares and circles and I like turned them and I moved cameras up and down and I looked around and just doing that for hours, not all at once, but like 20 minutes here, 20 minutes there, and doing it over the course of like a year and a half, I can start physically moving stuff in my mind. Like, oh, where is this shape? Oh, it's over here. Oh, it's over here. And the reason why I bring that up is that's what this turns into. So working this way with a Loomis head is a great way to practice this. Because if we remember our basic Loomis head is right here, right here, right here. We have the middle part right here. If our hairline is here, and then we also bring that an equal distance down, and our bottom of our nose is here, and then we take that middle dot down to where that nose is, and then do that length again, that's the bottom of the chin, right? So, and then you basically take and cut the edge off, bring this down, bring that down, right? There's your Loomis head. So let's do that in this perspective. If we have our middle right here and we trace this line coming all the way around, our hairline will probably actually be like right here, right? If we kind of take that same distance and then we bring it on that same angle that we're at, and the same thing here. If we take that distance, that flat distance, and we bring it down the same way, that means the bottom of our nose should be here-ish, right? That's about right. I mean, that might be a little long, but like I said, I always make my noses too long. So actually, let me bring it up. Since I know that about myself, let's bring that up. I'm gonna get rid of this one. Okay. This is the killer, because technically what my mind says, because since I've elongated this one out, down and straight, part of my brain thinks that this line should continue down and straight like this to get like right here for the bottom of the chin, right? You can do that. But for me, what I found out, and I've literally, by finding this out, I'm talking like in the past 2 weeks, reading through the Loomis Drawing Heads and Hands book. Follow this curve. Follow the curve a little more. Because you have to remember, the face is its own shape. It's a shape in space. It doesn't flatten out. It continues this curve. And then bring this down, maybe right here. This was a big deal for me. This seems really stupid. It's a straight line versus a slightly curved line. But I'll show you why this was such a big revelation for me. If we have, let's say, the bottom of our nose, the thing we have to keep in mind is, like, if we did a small version of this, right? The thing you would think is, okay, I'm going to draw a nose like normal, I'm going to draw my eyes like normal. I'm going to draw the hairline like normal. I'm going to draw the mouth like normal, coming straight down. The reason why this doesn't work is you've essentially just flattened everything to be this straight on look. I'm a little crash test dummy here. Because you see the equal amounts of the eyes, you see the equal amounts of the nose, you see equal amounts of the mouth. Like, there's no curve happening. You forget to almost, like, because I do this, I still do this. This is why I like to practice this right now, because I'm bad at it. You have to remember that the curve is happening for everything. So yes, the bottom of your nose is right here, but guess what happens? The nostrils, like this, let's say, is the bottom of the nose right here. This is going to curve up because this comes off of the skull. This comes off. Your nose pokes out of your face. So it has to literally follow this line. If we're looking that way, everything that comes out of your face also has to go this way. So it's like a block on a block. If you have a block right here, you know, you essentially have to overlap another block on top of it. Does that make sense? And then, like, it gets rid of this. So you're getting true overlap, which is why this is such a tricky deal. You don't learn how to do these type of portraits in portraits class. You just don't, because this is extremely difficult to do. So what I've started doing is, like, if we have it like this, I will then take this, my outermost edge of the nose that I can see, curve it in to connect to the middle line here, right? And I know that seems kind of weird. Let me go ahead and erase the sphere line. And then I'm also going to erase this sphere line. So now we have a shape sticking out of the shape, right? So if we're at the right angle, that means one nostril should be about right here, and the other nostril should be about right here, right? Because this is the tip of your nose, right here. So circle, that's your tip. So we're going to get rid of that. Now, this still looks very weird, but let's go ahead and bring in the rest of the head. Because if this curves around, there's something that happens here on, like, this Loomis head. Our eyes, I've started making this shape. Our eyes are on this right here, where your eyebrows cast a shadow, but then your eyelids and your cheekbones start coming out, right? So it's almost like if we were doing a side profile shot, you know, and then we have like this as our head. The eyes do this. And then you have your nose bridge or whatever, and then your mouth, like those proportions are way off. But you know what I mean. The eyes literally do this, and your eyes kind of sit in here like that. So that's what we have to show right here at this angle. If I flare out my cheeks like this, right? I'm going to use this guiding line, our sphere line that we had. That's going to be where the mouth part, what is that called? I can't remember what that's called. Like the angel's arrow, Cupid's arrow. that makes a little divot in your lips. Yeah, you could definitely use, and see, this is, I'm not even using the sorrow head right now, like, but this is part of it. Like, yes, I would actually highly recommend using the Asaro head as your planes, because then you can tell Cupid's bow. Thank you, Cody. So that's kind of what this is. And then what I would do, remember, this is all kind of foreshortened. So if, like, we've established that this is the bottom of the chin, we can bring this out a little bit. Boom. And if this foreshortens like that, it should be like that. That might be kind of wrong. Yeah, I think I need to actually bring up my lips a little. But see, that's what I mean. Like, these are the type of measurements that are trickier. And, like, trying to do it from imagination is a bear. It's an absolute kind of nightmare. But that's why I have to do it over and over and over and over, is to get better at it. Because this perspective is going to match here. Right? And, like, once I clean up the drawing a little bit, that should help too. But if this comes over here, that means if this cheek is on this back side of the nose, we need to do that divot for the eye and bring this back, right? Because if this is the middle bridge of the nose, right, we have our, let's say, we have that nostril right there. So let me kind of lay that out. We have that cast shadow right there. The top lip always gets shadow because it goes into your mouth. And then we're going to follow that line around. That's where the eyebrows are, remember? So if we block in, remember, what I'm doing now is I'm following the same curve, but I'm using the edge of my nostril to come up to be kind of where this eyebrow would be. And then I'm following the curve around. You see what I mean? And I'm going to come in, because remember, we're doing this shape where the eye is. So, like, if it was head on, it's going to be like the hourglass, and your eye is right here, because here's where your eyebrow is. And then this part gets in shadow, this part's a highlight, but like this is, you see what I mean? You're going to have that shape because it's going to block off where the shadow hits and then where your highlight is. So I'm drawing that. I'm literally drawing where that diagonal is going to be. I'm going to follow this again. Let me maybe do this and follow the sphere line. See, these proportions might be off, but you can always move stuff. It's really just about getting stuff on there first. I'm going to do the eye socket here. And it should read pretty well once we get rid of a lot of these leading lines. And then we're going to bring the forehead up. Now, we have those, right? So we kind of have this set up. This is going to come over here. This is going to come right there. All right. So we need to put the rest of the structure of the face in. So kind of where the chin line is meeting here, this is going to come up to be the bottom part right before your chin, like where your goatee would grow or whatever. And see, there's still weird angles and stuff. But the part that I really want to do is I want to find the side of the face. So if this is right here, if we're doing like, where would I be? I would be Let's try it right here. I'm just going to carve this off like so, you know. I'm just going to flatten this bad boy. Because then if we were to come over here and like bring the jaw, and like this can come down here, and like it's still working on a little bit of an optical illusion because we have these circles here. But I'm thinking if we have this, so we have our horizontal line and vertical, our ear is going to be in the lower back quadrant because the top of the ear is going to be where your eyebrows are. And then the bottom of the ear is going to, if we follow this around, following the same perspective, the ear itself is going to be probably around here. Now, because of the way the perspective works, we can actually bring this ear up above this line, because it's going to end a little above the line too. Everything's kind of tilted up. That's what makes this so difficult, is like the tilting up part has to be brought over from everything, from every part of it, right? So if we have a shadow here, let's do like a little shadow here. Okay, so if this is the side of the head, let's bring that there. Right? Or something like that, maybe? The real tell is going to be when I get rid of these sphere lines. And maybe this angle is actually kind of off. Maybe it should be a little further up. Maybe like... But see, I mean, see how messy this is just right now? So if I come over here... If we do something like this... Let's bring this over. So let's test this. But this is part of it. It's not going to look great at first. Like, I do really enjoy the Loomis method. I think it's super helpful. It also does not look very good until it's cleaned up. Get rid of some of these lines, get rid of this one, get rid of this one. You see what I mean? So now that we're getting rid of those weird optical illusion lines, it's starting to read better. It's not perfect, but it's definitely reading better. Do you know what I mean? It's a good starting spot, because then if I need to come in and be like, okay, and then here is where an ear is, and we're going to see kind of the inside of the ear, right? Because of that. I think this needs to be a little higher. And then this can cut around. You know what I mean? And then we can do the same thing we did on the last guy and like put some cool triangles for the neck stuff. Oh yeah. So actually, this bone, this right here where this is coming up. So now I'm trying to decide, actually, let me move the ear. I know I did that part, but like now we can kind of see what's going on. So it doesn't need to be that far out, but it still should be fairly close to maybe as if that's where the line is coming up for the jaw. Let's see, here's the other thing another thing I need to study is the actual structure of an ear, because I need to be able to draw it, you know, slightly angled and up, and because everything has to be slightly angled and up. If we're going to be doing this pose, everything has to follow the same rule. You know what I mean? So something like this. So, you know, I'm actually kind of pleased with how this looks. It's still very rough. It's still not near showtime. But like, that's doable. Like, this is workable. You know what I mean? And then, like I said, you can come in and you can, like, this is where you can start, like, kind of make it like Dr. Manhattan, I guess. Let's do that. Boop. So you have that. He has his eyes shut, by the way. I don't know if I... Let me emphasize that a little bit. Alright. So, like, something like this. Structure here. Okay. Alright. And see, it's funny because now this chin, because it's also a 3/4 view, so stuff is still kind of like facing us a little bit. So I need to sort of Asaro head it out, you know. Kind of bring this in a little more. This is... If I get rid of these lines, here, here, I do think that's shut out a little bit too far. It's funny, you know how there's a saying, and it's absolutely true, that every picture of a person that you make kind of looks like the artist. Like, it kind of looks like you, you know? I have a big-ass chin. I do. So all my characters, every time, big-ass chin. So you see what I mean? It's not, definitely not perfect, but this should be workable. And then if we like come down and like do a little bit of... Actually, I should probably flatten this out a little bit. Because while it is true that he is looking up, it shouldn't be so... That perspective shift shouldn't be so crazy, because we were looking like way inside the collar, right? Shouldn't be super crazy. So... something like that, maybe? Alright. And then... So like I said, very rough and tumble what we got going on here, but I'm hoping you can see the starting line. You know what I mean? Because that's essentially what all of this is. That's essentially what sketching should be, in my opinion, is like, all right, we can take this to something. Yeah, the lines throw me off too. They do. They're really, really good and easy for structure. A 3-eye, 2.5 each side reference from the front face, a good start. Yeah, I would really anything that makes sense to you. So the question was, would you recommend a 3-eye, 2.5 to each side reference for the front face, a good standard? And that's basically how we talked about before. The 3-eye is the eye's distance from itself. If you want to know where the eye should go, there is exactly one eye equal length between them. That's what I always go for. I always try my best to do that. It just helps. It helps to have a very structured way to get started. You know what I mean? Because it's very easy to make this way harder than it needs to be. And this is very hard. I mean, this stuff is not easy. This is why seeing people that can do this from imagination, a lot of comic book artists can do this type of stuff from imagination, just because they've drawn tens of thousands of faces and they've had to do it from every angle imaginable. It's not easy. It's a whole different skill set. And just working in imagination in general is a different skill set. I think it's actually pretty far removed from observation. While yes, you paint or you draw or whatever, and you do that kind of the same way between both, the parts of your brain that are being activated are completely different. And it's been a huge learning curve. I do feel like I am getting stronger at it, but I'm nowhere near where I need to be to do the type of stuff that I want to do, if that makes sense. So like, it's better, but is it where I want it to be? Absolutely not, you know. So I have this, and then like this would come down with the, is it called Cupid's bow? Cupid's bow. And there's that, and then you fill out that lip, and then like this could also be a shadow. This is going to be a little further down actually. So this could be a shadow. So see, it's very rough and ready right now. And this is almost going to be like a... I wanted this part, like right here, to be the bottom of the chin, but I don't know how well that reads. So we do like this. And then this. You know, some of that charcoal look right there. And then we can be cool and like smudge stuff. Ooh. Cool smudgy. See a little cross-hatch smudge right here. Little smudge. This is a little muddy right here, but it's fine. That is A-okay. Yeah, you bet. Like, I'm telling you, this is the hardest stuff. This is by far the most difficult. I could make you 50 landscapes in the time it takes me to make one decent portrait from imagination. Like, landscapes are just, they're so much more intuitive. Like I said, it's a whole different animal. It's like we actually need to kind of define the cheekbone here. So if we do something like this, and then this comes up. So you also need to make sure that I don't break the rule of my own perspective. So this needs to come over a little bit. There we go. I can actually maybe angle that a little more. Really embrace that head tilt by just following and accentuating the eyebrow line. And same thing here. But then we'll get rid of this. Back a little bit. So yeah, it's still, I mean, still not quite. Actually, let me unround this. I think that's part is throwing me off too. Because another thing that's weird about the Loomis method. Loomis method starts off with a perfect circle. The head is not a perfect circle. It's more of like an egg shape. Because whenever you're doing a side shot, instead of it looking like, you know, this, and like the character is looking this way, the head is actually more kind of like this. Because you have to think, you have this, you have this, you have that, and then the neck comes down, and then this comes down. Like, that's sort of what my idea was. And see, you know, I'm like, oh, and then I had the hair, but then the hair comes back here and then back down. You know what I mean? So like, there's kind of your proportion that way, right? Then you kind of erase that line. And see, that's a super fast, like very, very fast Loomis method. And then that's flat right there, so you can actually just do this. And then like kind of either round that off or square it off, or kind of however you want to do it. And then, but you see what I mean? Like, the head is more of an egg shape than it is a perfect perfect circle. So like getting that shape here is actually way trickier because you're doing a lot of foreshortening. That's why the ear was kind of throwing me off. I put it way too far back at first. You know what I mean? It has to be a little more like that, and then it comes in. Especially, and this isn't even talking about the muscle structure of the neck stretching. That's a whole different thing that the Loomis method doesn't really even cover. Loomis method is more about the structure of proportionality to features on the face. It doesn't really cover anatomy all that well, or all that thoroughly. It does it well, but it just doesn't do it enough to know, like, okay, if your neck is doing this, this ear stretches, or the muscle around your ear does this, or like, it's a different, it's a whole different mentality, you know. So if we have that, let's go ahead. I want to try one thing before I get off here. I'm wanting to do a more stylized deal. What throws me for a loop? Okay, let's do this. Yeah, it's fine. Okay. What throws me for a loop? Yeah, I do have the Bridgman. I have Hogarth. Bridgman was the other name I was thinking of way earlier in the stream. I knew it started with a B, but I was like, why can I not think of this person's name? But it's Bridgman. Hogarth, I have the Hogarth book, I have the Bridgman book, I have the Loomis book. Between those three, you're going to find something that you like. You know, Hogarth is a little rubbery, meaning that, like, the way he structures his stuff, his characters almost look like Gumby, like they're made out of, like, this, like, clay. But I understand why he does it that way, because you can make more dynamic poses, and it's really cool how it all works, but it takes a lot of cleanup afterwards. Bridgman's a little more direct, and then Loomis is very much kind of a one and done. You go ahead, you put the structures here, you put the, you know, shoulders or cannonballs type stuff, and then you kind of erase the leading lines the same way you do with the Loomis method for the face and the hands. So my thing is, can I use this egg idea to make a more anime face? And instead of doing the cross, I'm going to try to, like, visualize it. But basically, I'm visualizing a big circle, and this oval is sort of the top portion and where the nose is. So let me kind of draw out what I'm thinking. This curve right here, where it's happening, I want to use that as the divot from the forehead to the nose bridge. So, like, this is kind of my understanding of how anime works. Do you see what I mean? So you got that. We can elongate that to make that one eyebrow. And then the other eyebrow can kind of, like, come up here. So we're still using structure. And then, like, nostril. Maybe that right there. I wanted this to actually look a little... Actually, let me do this. I wanted this to be a little more flat, like a more profile shot instead of a 3/4. So let me... bring that eyebrow closer to the actual circle. So whenever I say, like, stylize the Loomis head, this is sort of what I mean. You kind of start here. We have this. This is still going to come down. We're going to do our top lip. Bottom lip. Chin. See? Something like that. But then let's make this a lady. So really with ladies I go all in on making some big ol' eyes, man. Something like that. Yeah. So that's the thing. I wouldn't consider this anime because this still uses some of the structure of a Loomis head. At least to me. Like, I can visualize where stuff is. You know what I mean? So that's actually going to be a little more. Let me bring that down. You know, and then this brings up the hairline, which would be like right here. Let's do more of like the hair tied back, because this is going to test my, where the hell do I put my ear? if this is a profile shot, and then we have something like this, maybe like right here. Right? It's not too far off. I don't think, at least. So if we have, and the neck is actually going to come down like this. Right, because it connects to the cranium right there, I guess. Let me go ahead and do that. Like, I don't even know what this style would be called. I have no clue. Okay, oh, actually, okay, so if this is where this is, if from the eyebrow to the nose, that means the hairline should be about right here, maybe? But if it's brought back, is that right? A little bit of sideburn. I always do this. I always add a little bit of like hair coming down from the front of the ear because it tells me where the hairline connects. Does that make sense? Like, yeah, I can kind of see it. I can kind of see this. Let's bring the neck down here, actually. Because I think this hair, it always comes off the cranium. You want it to go up off of the cranium because you have to think hair grows out, right? Like off here. So you don't want it to be, unless it's slicked back or unless it's like plastered onto their head. You can do a silhouette as long as you follow the shape, like where the curve is. You can kind of do whatever you want with hair. See, and then it has to like jut out a little more like this, but then now it's starting to curve down. Oh, we could try like a ponytail. I don't think I've done a ponytail before. Well, I think I've done one before, but like not this way. Okay, this actually has to come up. Because remember, this is still coming up, so this is still going to rise up. Is that correct? I'll be damned. It kind of looks right. I do that a lot. Like, I'm like, oh, this might not actually be bad, you know? So then it's like, if we have this, and then like, let me just bring that down. All right. You know what? I'm actually kind of pleased with that. I think that looks kind of cool. I don't think it's necessarily academically sound. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't think this is actually proportionally correct. We can do the really cool. We can do the anime thing, like Jinx. If you guys have watched like Arcane, Jinx has this big kind of front-facing bang that does that type of thing. And actually, let's bring it over here. So yeah, we're totally aping off the Jinx design for at least this part, right? And you can do something like that. Now let's give a little more. So once again, we're gonna do let's do some squares. Right? Let's do this kind of in front. And remember, triangles, man. Triangles work like crazy. Squares and triangles. So if there's like a belt or something, like a standard. And then if we go ahead and get rid of the sphere line. I think that's workable. I think we can do a thing with this. See, and like nothing's super specific yet. The ear might not be at exactly the right spot, but that's okay. And then if like we want to just quickly give ourselves a little bit of something something. Yeah, we'll do the round brush again, why not? So let me have it be that one. Okay. So yeah, like I said, I don't know what I would call this style. Because I don't think it's necessarily like anime or manga. But I also know it's not very like realistic. Let's A little darker. So if we do like that, and then if we do the nice like a little bit of cheekbone stuff here. Forehead getting kind of the same thing we did last time. That. So with doing portraits of female characters, women and girls and stuff, I don't like to do harsh cheekbones because it ages. It ages like pretty immediately, you know. Usually keeping the facial features fairly smooth is the best way to go. So like finding that balance of a good, there we go, good shadows being cast, but also not adding a lot of age marks. Because like actually right there, I might actually get rid of these highlights. Grab that. That can be up there. We can add some like accessories or something, like so if there's like circle here, circle here. Oh, I think I know what's throwing it off. Let me lighten the value of this hair, because this hair is supposed to be behind, so it's going to be lighter than the stuff around it, right? I can actually even lighten it even more, probably. And then I'll make the hair a little darker to compensate. then I think the real secret is going to be making this a little sharper. So like I said, it seems that any like spare brushstroke, whenever you're drawing a woman or a girl or somebody with softer features, every little stroke adds up. So you kind of want to get rid of anything that's not absolutely necessary. And it's not about like, oh, cleaning the line art or something. It's more like there's a function behind it rather than like, oh, that's better looking line art. It actually just helps sell the idea that you have. So if you do something like this, so if you like, I will come back in darker. This. Use the white to kind of clean up the silhouette. So I think the ears are wrong, but that's fine. We should make it actually taller because, like we talked about, if it's kind of going across here, it has to come to the top of the eyebrow line, or at least to the eyebrow line. Comes up here. Clean up the ear a little bit. here I can actually add the earrings. I had the idea for like some form of earrings. And it's funny, I think the shape of the cranium is making this character younger. Right. So there we go, something like that. Like, it is way more stylized, the proportions are a little different. But I mean, really what I can do is like, I wonder if one of the things is like, if I do this, how would I, oh, let me just do this. Merge down. Down. Right, come on. There you go. Merge down. Alright. And then if I did like a boom. I'll do that. Oh, there you go. Uniform. Is it freeform? Yeah. So yeah, see if I bring it out a little more, it seems to fit the proportions a little better. Because it was like this, which would be like a younger. Yeah, that's interesting. Hey, you just kind of, if you squish it vertical a little bit, or make it a little more up and down, but then if you bring it out here, it kind of fits more of the standard proportion. Huh. I mean, I'm going to consider it a win, because normally if I start doing this to my merged copies of stuff, it goes all out of whack. But this actually stays fairly consistent. That's cool. Alright. So like something like that maybe? Here we go. Alright. So I think that'll do it. I think that's some decent experimentation for the Loomis method. I think we let's see if we did that one, right? the really tough 3/4 face. It's not great, but you know, it's a start. And then we had Deuter, the front face Deuter. So yeah, I wonder if there's a lot of style similarities here. You know what I mean? Like if we have this right here. Still trying to decide what that style would be called. I have no idea. Anyways, that's cool. So we got the side profile, we got the front shot, and then we got the 3/4 study. But yeah, all of these from imagination, and they kind of show off the power that is the Loomis method. Let me come over here. Boom. Take that off. I remember how I said earlier I had gray in the beard. There it is. There it is. There's a little bits like sprinkled throughout too. But yeah, it is funny that all of our portraits end up kind of looking like us, you know. It is what it is. But that is my time. Like I said, we've moved to a 1 stream day a week. It's going to be Saturdays, so this is the one for this Saturday. And we'll do it once a week, every Saturday. I'm going to try to get started a little earlier whenever I do them. It just really depends on when the kids get to bed, you know, and everyone kind of gets settled in and gets going. So, but yeah, I'm excited. I got the new iPad capture card stuff set up. Hopefully it was a little bit smoother and more of a high fidelity experience than the past iPad streams were, because instead of doing it wirelessly that we used to do through AirPlay, now I literally have an HDMI set up through a capture card. We're capturing a direct feed from the iPad, full frames per second, all that stuff. So hopefully it's a better viewing experience. It also opens up more avenues for like Infinite Painter, Art Studio Pro, using other programs on the iPad. But I do love sketching with it. I do, you know, I'm not a big sketcher anyway, but if we're going to be practicing Loomis Method, if we're going to be practicing characters from imagination and trying to start paintings that way, this is a good way to go. So we're probably going to see it more on the YouTube side of things as well as the live streams that we have here. But yeah, thank you so much for joining me. Big thanks to Wolf Hunter and Marco for re-upping their subscriptions. I appreciate you guys very much. I will have some members only videos going live on the YouTube channel in the next month or so. I think 2 of them I got planned. One should be out in the next few days, and then one probably the next week, 2 weeks, maybe after Thanksgiving, or maybe 1st of December-ish. It could be the other member videos. So go sign up for that if you want to be part of some members only videos. And those are going to stay members only at least until the beginning of the new year. And so we're going to start doing more and more of that. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun doing this. It is kind of nerve-wracking because this is the type of stuff I'm really bad at. So doing it live, it kind of takes the pressure off, but the pressure's still on because, hey, it doesn't look great. But, you know, the only way to get better at it is to do it. And that's probably going to be the topic of my next YouTube videos. Hey, you should actually embrace your weaknesses. They make you what you are as an artist, for better or for worse. So working on them slowly but surely, little steps, can go a long, long, long way to that improvement level. But anyways, that's my time. You guys have been fantastic. I will see you all live next Saturday. And yeah, until then, go make cool art. We'll have another YouTube video out this next upcoming week. And you guys take care. My microphone's always in the way, so I can't see anything. There we go. Gotta pick the right scene to transfer over to. So yeah, happy Saturday. Thanks for hanging out. Appreciate you very much. And we'll talk to you soon.